I know I'm a little late to the game on scrub caps, but here's my 2 cents worth. By Share Our World. So here's my 2 cents worth on scrub caps. I am using the Sweet Red Poppy scrub cap just because I think most of the patterns are created equal and they don't make you create an account to download their pattern. It is a 2-piece cap, and it is essentially not super hard to do. Their instructions are fine, but I am going to just show a modification of that because I feel like I would like to. So here is this piece. It's been cut. It says to cut 2, one of the main, one of the lining. I am going to only cut 1, and this will be obviously both the main and the lining. I've already ironed casing into it. I'm going to put 3/8 inch elastic in this. So I ironed a casing that's 3/8 of an inch. So we're not going to deal with this piece at all. You just cut it out like normal and iron it like normal, except you cut 1 rather than 2. This is the piece that I cut really differently. This is the piece that goes across your head and ties in the back. There's the tie. I'm going to use this fun fabric because I love it. And as you can see, I've kept it folded in half because this says cut on a fold. It says cut on this fold right here, and there's my fold. It's roughly the length of the fabric. But I'm going to cut one more fold right. I'm going to fold it one more time right here. And I'm going to cut this on the fold so that I am cutting 1 piece rather than 2 pieces. One more time so it gets right. Instead of cutting 2 pieces separately, I am just going to cut 1. As you can see, this corner is folded twice. It's folded on this side and folded on this side. Let's put this into the frame. And I'm putting this right along the fold. I'm going to ignore this dart. I'm just going to not sew it in there because when I made them, I don't feel like it needs it. And I watched a lot of videos. Most of the patterns are roughly the same. The only caveat is to do this method, you're going to need a pattern that has this 2-inch, I think it's roughly 2 inches. I didn't measure it. It is. It's roughly 2 inches. This 2-inch tie rather than a thinner tie because we're going to be pulling the whole thing out through that tie. And without the 2-inch tie, it's really hard to do that. So we're going to cut this here. And then I'm going to just cut the full pattern out. I have both of my pieces cut out. I have this piece and I have this piece. Effectively, we cut out 2 of this piece, but we cut it in 1 piece on the fold. So I have already ironed and sewn along this casing. So we're going to start by putting my elastic through. I'm going to use my fun little tool. You can use whatever you want. Just putting the elastic in. And I am going to sew it down. Then I'm going to pull it the rest of the way through. I used 4 inches of roughly 4 inches of elastic, just a little bit shorter. I don't much think it matters. Actually, I want this a little bit shorter, so I'm going to pull it a little bit more. Probably maybe to the 3-inch mark, just because I want it a little bit tighter. I don't think it matters that much how much elastic you have back here, because you're going to have a tie anyway. And so the elastic is just for fitting convenience. It just makes it so it keeps your hair up just a tad bit better. Now we've got that, and now I'm going to mark the center of the top of my cap. And I'm gonna do it with my fingernail. You could do it with a pin. I just essentially gave it a good crease so I could see it. This, we already have that marked because we did it on the fold. And so we know where the center of this, my second piece is. And I'm going to line up that center right there. I'm going to use a clip for this, but this is the only place I'm going to clip, and I'm just going to clip it for convenience so that when I fold it over I don't lose it. There, I have now lined up. So now what I have done is I have taken my piece that I cut on the double fold, the fold here and the fold here, and I have enclosed my cap top. So here's that cap top that I've put the casing at the bottom, and it is folded inside my other piece, so it is enclosed. We're going to make an enclosed seam. Now I'm going to change your camera angle so you're looking over my shoulder so you can actually see what I'm doing with my hands. So I have my 3 layers of fabric. I have my cap and my brim folded over around my cap. I'm going to do this at the 1/2 inch mark, maybe a little less than the 1/2 inch mark. It doesn't really matter. You could do it at the 1/4 inch mark. I just particularly want to do it at where I'm doing it. So I am going to start sewing this. And as you can see, it only lines up for about 1 inch. Now I'm going to stop and I'm going to bring my my cap, and I am going to sew just a little teensy bit at a time. And I am lining up all 3 layers 1 inch at a time. This sounds more tedious than it really is, just because we're lining up, but this isn't really a very long seam. It's less long than a pillowcase. And this is, so if you look up burrito pillowcases, you will find this the same method done by many people. It just happens that I've decided I want to do it with my surgical my scrub cap. And as you can see, I'm just lining it up a little teensy bit at a time. Just a little teensy bit. And I really only have to line up the 2 inches I'm sewing right now. I don't have to line up the whole thing. That seems a little bit intimidating. I don't really need to pin it because I'm stopping every, I don't know, 1 inch. Now we're just going to keep sewing, and as you can see, now that I've got past that curve, I am pretty home free. I can feel I'm coming up to the elastic, and I am going to go back and forth across that elastic. Then I'm going to sew all the way down to the end of the cap, and as you can see, because I was careful lining it up, this lines up all the way down. And as you also can see, I am not quite at my 1/2 inch mark. Then I'm going to sew across the end. Now that I've done that side, I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the same thing, starting from the center, just like I did before, the other way. Now, as you probably have guessed, that cap top is in my tube going the other direction, so I'm just going to pull it out so I can see it. And I'm going to start where I started before. And I'm doing the exact same thing a second time the other direction. As you can see, I'm lining up all 3 layers just a little bit at a time. This doesn't have to be, and towards the top, I really am lining them up maybe an inch and sewing 4 or 5 stitches, and then I am lining it up another inch and sewing 4 or 5 stitches. As you get past this major curve, you'll find that you can line up just a tad bit more. And I am checking each section of this very carefully for the lineup because I don't want to miss any of it. And as you can see, I kind of still have to pull this out from the center, but it's not stuck or anything. It's just pulling the other side in, and you just be firm with it, and because you're the boss, it's fabric. It doesn't care what it does. And I just keep pulling and aligning. Until I get to the elastic. When I get to the elastic, I am going to backstitch. Hopefully it won't break my thread this time. It doesn't every time. That was the first time it did that. Then I'm going to keep going, just like I did before. This time I'm going to leave this one portion open. As you can see, my scrub cap turned magically into a different fabric. Now that our scrub cap is sewn, we've sewn across this end. We've sewn across this end. When we sewed it, we've sewn all the way down, and it looks something like this, kind of all smooshed up into, well, it kind of looks like a stomach to me, but it's all scooshed up. We are going to turn this right side out, and to start that, we are going to take the end that we've sewn across, and we are just going to start turning it right side out. And you can do this with a stick, but you can also do it with your finger or a knitting needle. So right now I'm going to do it with my finger. As you can see, we are just essentially gathering that onto my finger, and I'm going to put my hand all the way into the body of this, and I am just gathering the other end of the strap over the same way I gathered the other end of the strap. And see there's the strap that was on my finger. Now I pull my other hand out, and this is what it looks like. Now we are going to turn this whole thing right side out. Here you need to be a little teensy bit careful because it's a little bit hard, and if I keep this neat, you will see that it is less hard to get this whole big body of stuff through the tie handle. And I'm going to just kind of keep working it until I can get the main body through the tie. And as you can see, I've started getting the cap itself out, the top of the cap itself. As soon as I get a good portion of this body, this main fabric through here, it goes a lot easier. And I'm trying not to get too many wrinkles here because that actually makes it a little bit harder to turn. And this just takes a little bit of finagling. It's not super hard. You just have to finagle it just a teensy bit. And as you see, I'm pulling it up a little, and then I'm straightening out all of my wrinkles, and pulling it a little and straightening it out all of my wrinkles. As soon as I get this all the way in, it will just pop out. This typically takes me roughly 5 minutes. Sometimes I'm a little faster, sometimes I'm not. Whoops, sorry, I bumped the camera. I'm just pulling it. Oh, I felt it go. There it went. And there you have this magically different scrubs cap. And as you can see here, it looks like this on one side, and it looks exactly identical on the other side because we enclosed the seam when we sewed all the way around that. Now we have one item left to do. That is to sew this end. And to sew this end, I'm just going to tuck it neatly in, just like that. And then I'm just going to sew straight across right here. I'm not going to iron it before I sew it because in the end I will iron everything. And as long as you tuck this tidy, it's not really that big of a deal. Then I'm going to iron right along the edge of this cap, and we will be done. It will be a completed scrubs cap. And that's scrub caps. Thank you for watching Share Our World.